Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Let's just wait for 3 more minutes and then we can get started. I'm so sorry for keeping everyone waiting. Yeah. All right, let's get started. Welcome everyone to today's panel series. I am Mahek Charania. I'm 17 and I'm a student studying in Hyderabad. Welcome to our panel today. Bindu is a youth-led organization that aims to educate, enrich, and empower menstruators all across India while tackling period poverty through sustainable incentives. Once again, welcome all of you. So make sure that you stick till the end of our panel because then you will be eligible to enter our giveaway. We have a really interesting giveaway with Living the Lux and Art by Abhi. So make sure you stay till the end. All right, so let's get started.
I think Mahek is stuck. Let's give her a minute. Till then, we can start with introductions of the panelists. So, Varudhini, Dr. Varudhini, can you go first and just introduce yourself?
Oh, did you say? I'm sorry, think I might not have heard.
Yeah, can you go ahead and introduce yourself, Dr. Varudhini?
Oh, okay. Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Dr. Varudhini, but call me Varu. I'm a counseling psychologist and I have been practicing for over 18 years. I look forward to kind of engaging with all of you and talking a little bit about a very, very important topic that affects all women. So yeah, that's me.
Okay, and then we have our second panelist, Pranayeeta. You can go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Pranayeeta Das. I'm the founder of the Period Society Siliguri. It's basically a Gen Z initiative. We all are students, so I'm a student in BU, and the organization aims to combat menstrual taboos via awareness programs, pad distribution drives, and we basically work for menstruators. Thank you. That's pretty much it.
I'm so sorry for dropping off. That was my internet. Are we done with the introductions?
No problem.
Yes. Okay. Doctor, have you introduced yourself?
Yes.
Okay, I'm so sorry for dropping off once again. Thank you for the introductions. Let's jump into our panel. All right. So let's just start with some really common questions that any of the panelists could really answer. So what are cravings? Why does a menstruation?
Mahek, you're muted.
Sorry. Could you hear me?
Yeah,
No.
All right. So let's just start off with our first question. Why does a menstruator have cravings? What is the whole deal with cravings in the first place? Yeah, panelists.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so as I'm not a doctor yet, or I'm not a researcher yet. According to my research, but what I have come across and what I have worked through for, it is a period when your body goes through some hormonal changes during your periods, and before your periods, during your ovulation or your period, you go through some hormonal changes. Due to those hormonals, we have got mood swing, and due to those mood swings we have cravings. So that what leads to cravings, according to me and to my research. I think so.
Would you like to add on, Doctor?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things with mood and food. And what I mean by that is we've always associated food with an emotion. And we use food as a way to either give us immediate comfort. And during the menstrual cycle for women, they have food cravings as such. And it is more an association of emotion to a food. And it would mostly be something like, if they're feeling irritable or something, they like want chocolate or ice creams or something like that to make them feel better. So you use food as a way to relieve your low feelings or anger. So that's the kind of association with food cravings and menstrual cycle. That also changes. So if you take the menstrual cycle, the first day of your period, from the first day of your period, it starts to build on your emotion and feelings would be pretty good. You'll be feeling quite good. And then if you're on a 20-day cycle, which is a regular woman's menstrual cycle, from day 10 to day 14 is the days that you ovulate, your mood will be, so basically there are 3 phases of this mood. First is before ovulation, the ovulation period, and time after. And most of the women, when they've, the PMS, premenstrual symptom, comes after ovulation. From the time that the ovulation is done, the hormones start to drop. And that's when we find that women are more irritable, angry, fatigued. They get a little bit more, just a little bit more antsy, in a word. So if we can divide the period into those 3 phases, you will notice that the period cravings also will slightly change from one to another.
Completely. That was a very clear explanation, I feel. And I guess another thing to really put out there is that these cravings are normal. Oftentimes, especially with social media, body image, and all of these things becoming a very big factor, one thing to really put out there is that it's okay to have these cravings. And like you just said, it's okay to also make use of them. It's okay to have a little snack because it's only making you feel better.
Right. So I think the key to that is just moderation. Yeah, everything in moderation. So you can eat something and have a piece of cake is better than a whole cake. Like, just because it's so. I think you need to know yourself, your metabolic rate, and also what the cravings are, and everything in moderation is totally fine.
Completely, I agree with that. All right. So let's get into the next really big thing, period cramps. What are period cramps and what really happens? Why does that add to our irritability? Why does that really become the bane of existence of a menstruator? Any panelists can go there? Yeah, sure.
Okay, so to again my research, what I have read is that during our periods, there is a hormone chemical like named prostaglandins. Yeah, prostaglandins that get released to our uterus, which causes contraction. And due to this contraction, there is discomfortness, there is uncomfortableness which occurs during our periods, which is mostly referred as cramps.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's it.
All right, so let's just move on to what helps you relieve some of these symptoms, whether is it mood swings or is it cramps? What are some ways that you get through them, or what are some relieving ways that you use in your daily life?
I think I am a big fan of herbal tea. So herbal tea actually soothes your pain a lot, and it kind of gives a little bit heat, warm. So having a room where you can just relax, take a hot bath, and have a cup of herbal tea can really make you feel comfortable at that time.
Very true.
I think a cup of tea always helps at any point of it. It's a great idea. Something warm in your body does make you feel good with the cramps. A couple of other things that you could do is women should know that the more they work out or they do some physical exercise, the muscles around are also stronger, that the cramping is less.
Yes.
The second thing is when you do have that cramp, the idea is that the cramps are around not only the stomach, but the lower back, according to lower back pain that can come as well. And when you have these two things, a way to really relieve that would be to sleep on the floor, just sleep on the floor and pull your legs in, like pull it in, your feet, knees in, and just keep your back straight for 5 minutes, and it relieves the cramps. And the other one would be to put a hot pack. Within 5-10 minutes, you will feel. So this is kind of going with the same idea of drinking some warm tea that helps. And it's the same idea. So a hot pack and just lying down on your ground with your back straight, pull your knees up for 5 minutes is great for your cramps. It immediately goes.
I completely agree with these. I would also very, very much agree with a good herbal tea. Chamomile has always been my go-to. And yes, physical exercise and just getting yourself out there, even though you might not feel like it, it's an excellent, excellent method. I 100% agree with that. Now, obviously, there's no denying that medicines are also another resort. You could go for some recommended painkillers. So, is it normal to take medication for cramps? Is it dangerous? Can it really harm you? Does it do any benefit? While it's taking away your pain, is there anything else that comes along with it?
Uh, to my research or to my follow up with doctors, what I have come across is that taking medicines is absolutely fine, until and unless there is a specific medicine for that, right? You cannot just take any painkiller or anything like that. Meftal Plus, for example, is a great medicine that you could take up in your periods. And according to my research and to my talk with doctors, you can take up to 5 Meftal Plus while in your periods if you have period cramps, but not more than that. And that's absolutely okay. It's coming from an Harvard doctor, so yeah. Like for me, taking a pill in my periods is totally a thumbs up.
I agree with you. I mean, sometimes it does get unbearable, and just like everything else, medicines as well, taken up to a limit, I guess it is acceptable.
Yeah, exactly. And Meftal Plus, particularly for Meftal Plus, I really don't know about other medicines, but for Meftal Splash, it's totally fine to take up to 5 Meftal Splash. Yeah.
Anything that you want to add onto it?
Yeah. Well, even if you're starting it, it should be with the guide, understanding that it's under supervision with your doctor, and your doctor is recommending it. Don't take any medication without first, consulting your doctor, and go with what the doctor is telling you. Yeah,
I completely agree.
Exactly.
So,
Doctor, yeah. we have to understand that not everybody's body work the same, right? So me taking a Meftal Plus would be okay, but someone else taking it not might be okay. So I think it's the best that if our intensity of our cramp is way too much, it's better we see a doctor and go according to what our doctor says.
Definitely. I completely agree with the both of you. Medicine, again, as helpful it is, it's never advised to really go forward with anything that you consume in terms of medication without the advice of a doctor, because again, the menstrual cycle, it can be complex. Something suits you, something doesn't suit you. It's really important to consult a doctor for it. So let's just share a couple of personal anecdotes about a funny case of a craving or a period cramp that was really bad, and just what it made you feel, what it made you think, so that we could empathize with all of our menstruators in our panel. Is there anyone who would like to go first? All right, let's just give our panelists a little while to think, and I'll share this really interesting anecdote that I have regarding cravings and just menstrual cramps in general. So I am a dorm student. I was a residential student, and my best friend and I were roommates. And I don't know if this is a myth. I don't know if it's true, but they say that your cycles can somehow sync. I don't believe in that, but so the both of us were somewhere around our cycle, and we were just discussing how weird is it to have cravings, how weird it is to exactly feel like, oh, I want to have dark chocolate, or I want to have sushi, or I want to have noodles, and just these really weird cravings, how they can happen at the same time. And then when the both of us did start our cycles eventually, and the both of us were experiencing a lot of pain, something that did give us comfort is having that food. And the both of us just had a really good laugh about how we were thinking about this food, just, these food items a little while ago. And then when we had them and we were thinking about them, just having a good, relaxing time, it immediately made us feel better. And this is definitely something that keeps coming back to me every month, just as I think about the various ways I can take care of myself, knowing that, yeah, these are the 5 days that I need to focus on how I feel, what my body is going through, because it is definitely a very natural and sometimes intensive process. But keeping in mind what works for me, what doesn't work for me, has always been like a lesson that has been learned every month.
Definitely.
Would any of the panelists like to share? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a common known fact. You know, your pheromones are in sync with the other females in the dorm room, and there's a high likelihood that the cycles are kind of overlapping with everyone. So that's a shared experience of it.
Yeah.
It'll be great when all the women's moods are kind of off. It's a great scene for a drama, but it also is a shared experience that helps everyone come together to kind of get through it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let's jump into some really specific questions. All right. So, Pranayeeta, I'd like to start with you. Let's start by talking a little bit about social media here. So, social media is a powerful tool.
Right.
Organizations like Great Society and Bindu are trying to spread information about these critical aspects like mood swings, hormonal change, and etc. And while we are trying to advocate for these things, social media doesn't fall short on mocking these at the same time. What is your take on this? What are some things that you have observed, and you yourself running an organization as such? What are some things that you've come across?
Okay, so I'll share a short story on this. While I was while I'm working for the Period Society, and while we are putting up post on mood swings, on cravings and everything, basically on mood swings, it was a particular post where, and we got a comment like, it just periods, why are you making a big issue out of it? If it's just a period, why are you hyping about it so much? So to that comment, I realized that there are some people who don't understand or don't have the empathy to understand this normal thing, that my period, Sam's mood swings, it's different, and yours could be different. My place of being accessible to period pads or scientific products could be different, and your way of accessibility could be different. So the empathy to understand, or the empathy to have the empathy that I am privileged menstruator, but you can't be a privileged menstruator. As organization like Bindu and Period Society, where we work in villages, we understand the depth of it. We understand that how there are menstruators who do not even know the use of a sanitary pad. Right? What will they know about cravings? What will they know about mood swings? They have no clue about that. They have no clue that they even go through it. They don't know anything about that. So while social media tries to mock, or try to put out those contents or negativity, I just have one suggestion to people: to have empathy. I think if we lack that, it's terrible. It's really terrible, because sitting on our privilege place, our privilege standard, we could judge anything. But until and unless we go to the ground and see the actual situation of these people, of the menstruator, we do not know really anything. So if we are hyping about it, there is a need for the hype. There is a need for the awareness.
Completely agree. Completely agree. Anything that you would like to add to it, Doctor?
Yeah, I think social media, there are a couple of things. They mock not only that, women's cramps are their own way of trying to take advantage of a situation or take, empathy. Like they use that, like they're, a lot of times you will hear guys and girls like saying, okay, is that the time of month for you? When they see a woman who is going through a mood swing, right? Which is in a way very mocking in a way, because you're like taking away what she might be really feeling and trying to say something and saying it's not invalid because you're going through a PMS symptom, right? A period. So I think that social media, there's definitely, because the platform is for everyone and anyone to say what they want, this is a topic that I think it can play both ways, right? One, there's lack of awareness, and then there's the other side that is mocking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing. So it's both sides that I have seen. And I think that one, women need to know that yes, they are going through a mood, and saying that they are going through a mood change is one. But the second is you need to be in sync with your body. You really need to know how your body functions, where your dip is. And saying that I have a mood swing is one step of awareness. The second is how do you help to cope with it? Because we cannot use the excuse of saying I have mood swings and behave a certain way and then put it on that. That's not how we would bring the awareness to help women, right? We need to know that, yes, we're going through a mood swing. How do I take accountability of navigating and coping with this? And I think that is what is responsibility with knowing how we have to be in sync with our body. And I think that has to be projected. My thoughts on that.
I completely agree with you. Working with Bindu, I've also seen a lot of these, while we are trying to advocate for this, and just as we discussed, the reason why it's important to advocate for these is because they are critical aspects of a menstruator's, the month, like you explained at the beginning. It's been divided into 3 phases. There are many different things that happen throughout this time, and there are many other critical aspects that happen in between, and it is important to advocate for these things because I think we discussed right now, it does affect the environment of the menstruator. Hence it is important to advocate for these things. Maybe we can jump into discussing what are some ways that a menstruator themselves can explain to the others around them that, hey, this is what I'm going through. Because it's difficult. And to some extent, it's also a part of the taboo that comes with it. So, what are some ways that a menstruator can explain to people around them, to people in their environment, what they're going through, and how can they really explain it to them in a way that it's not intimidating and not confusing at the same time?
I think the first thing that a menstruator needs to do is accept the type of mood swing she's going through, because a lot of times I have seen menstruator where they are in denial. They are in denial mostly if they even go through mood swings, right? So the first thing would be acceptance in that case, that yes, I'm going through mood swings, this is how my body is processing, and that's okay for me to feel, that's okay for me to go through, and it's normal. So normalizing it, acceptance is one way that a menstruator, like doctor said, the first way is to accept and to kind of recognize. So that is very important. And the next thing is, if you recognize, if you accept that it is okay, it will be a lot more easier for you to explain it to somebody, to tell it to somebody out, express it, right? So that is another way. And after that, I think the reaction that you would get through that is something that you need to accept too, that okay, that if the person is in negative form, in a negative way, it's okay to understand that there's a lack of awareness, there's a lack of education in that way, in that case. So it's okay to be like, okay, I need to get through this. So acceptance, recognition, and education of your own body type is very much important.
Completely.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you were saying. And I think just to add to that, when you're in sync with your body and you're in sync with your mood, you will really start to understand that your way your physical health is and the way your mental health is are going in parallel tandems. It's in tandem. And the more aware you get, the more you kind of start to understand it. And where this becomes, one part of it is maybe telling people in the family, oh yeah, I'm kind of going through my cramps, or educating people around, but not leaving it there. Because then what happens is the other person doesn't know what to do. Can I communicate with you or not? Can I engage with you or not? Because now they're not sure. So I think it's very, very important that you say, yeah, I'm doing this. I'm finding I'm a little low, but I know what I need to do, or I get it. We need to get these couple of things done. Can I do one or two of the things, and can I get back to you on another? Now, what you just did was you informed the other person about your state, your emotional state. And the second thing is you've given the person an alternative to the engagement that you still, or commitment you have to do to the other person. And I think this is really important. So just telling people, oh, I'm feeling low is not enough. You need to take it a step further to say what you want to do with that. And that helps the other person to understand, oh, okay, yeah, I understand. Fine, that's no problem, because they are not left feeling like, okay, are we getting that done or not? Is she going to come or not? Is she up for going out or not? Like, it's confusing if you just say that. So you need to give a response with an alternative way of how do you want to engage and finish the engagement with the other person. I hope that's making sense. I know I was just thinking about it when you were saying it, and I think it's
absolutely important. It totally makes sense. I think I've also recognized that I obviously don't have a big workspace right now. I do work with Bindu, I do go to school, but something I've really realized is if I'm working with someone closely for any amount of time, and let's say I am PMSing, I am in a lot of pain, tell them, I am in pain today. I'm not sure if I'll be able to work for more than an hour or more than 2 hours. And honestly, it helps. Not only it, as you said, doctor, it definitely helps the other person to understand how they can communicate with you. Sorry. But it also helps you, because you're not constantly thinking, wait, if I say something because I'm irritated, is the other person going to judge me? Do I really have to keep working beyond my capacity today? That again is another thing that you can do for yourself on your cycle. So definitely wonderful advice that the both of you have given. Just put it out there, tell the person. I 100% agree with that. All right, let's move to you, doctor. So what is the psychology or the psyche of a menstruator during these 4 to 5 days? What is really going on?
Well, okay. So really that 4 to 5 days is it's variant to depending on the woman itself. Okay. So in that there is mild symptoms of PMS, and then there are severe forms of that. Okay. So one, if you're on a regular menstrual cycle, you will know where your mood is. So first step is, all women, I tell all women this, get yourself onto an app. There are plenty of free apps there to check your moods and your period, okay? It helps track. And 2 to 3 months of tracking your mood, you kind of know that there is a pattern. Oh, day 10, it's great for me. I feel really good. And then day 17. And for some women, it's day 14. So it could change, okay? And when you know that, the first step you need to do is, one, understand what are the triggers for your mood. It could be work. It could be a relationship. It could be something. For you to slowly understand what triggers you. Right? And know that, okay, the next couple of days are going to be hard for me. Maybe I need to, revisit this and maybe engage with this a little later on, because I know I'll be in a better frame of mind. So it's all about knowing how to kind of manage and maneuver your engagement with the rest of the commitments you have. So that's one. Second is, what are you going to do with your emotional well-being at that point? Right? So you might feel like, you don't, when it gets that bad, right? Some women face huge amounts of rage. Like anything can trigger that rage. It's just so irritable. So everything is, they feel like nobody's understanding them. They feel triggered by everything. If you know that your normal response of irritability is on a scale of anger, it is large, then you've really got to understand, okay, something's going on with me here. The emotion is disproportionate to the event that happened. So the event could have been something broke, okay? But you feel like rage, disproportional to the event that happened. Okay, which means that, oh, okay, I have to stand back and think, okay, this is disproportional. There's something going on. I'm feeling like I'm not able to control this anger. It doesn't seem more like it. And if you see that that is what is happening, you will start to notice that people around you also are kind of walking on eggshells around that time. Okay, they're not sure how to respond to you. When that goes, please, please, please go to your gynec, talk to your gynec. Your gynec will help to understand if the dip in your hormones is so low that you really have this other, which is called premenstrual dysphoric disorder, that is coming out, okay? So the first step, all girls, is one, track your periods. Second, track how much of level of irritability that you get, and are you able to manage it? If it's not manageable, go to your gynec, go to your doctor, get more advice on what to do. If any of you are in therapy, your counselor will help you navigate that and tell you what to do. But even with a counseling psychologist, such as myself or clinical psychologist, the next step would then be to go, and the counseling psychologist will be able to tell you, yeah, we need to get this kind of checked out, go to your doctor, and we'll kind of work that out, okay? So those are severe forms, but it always helps to, one, understand how you respond to your menstrual cycles.
Yeah, completely agree with you. And what you just said really, is the perfect link to what I really wanted to ask you right after. Period logging apps have a range of moods to log in: irritated, guilty, anxious, depressed. And a lot of menstruators feel these, and it can be very confusing sometimes because it can make you question whether you need help or not. And I have completely faced that often, where something that bothered me at the beginning of the month suddenly comes back when I'm PMSing, and this time it's heightened. And I'm confused. I don't know what I should do. And sometimes it reaches an extent where I feel, do I need to reach out for help? So if it's just hormone fluctuations, should people even bother to get help? And when do you know that, yeah, I should get help now?
It's when you feel like it's out of control. When you feel like the amount of emotion you feel is just something that you know is not is disproportional, and you feel like you're having a hard time. Now, you kind of spoke about something that very overlaps with symptoms of depression, symptoms of anxiety, other symptoms. So when you said like a lot of mood apps is not only tracking your menstrual cycle, it's also tracking your moods in terms of depressive episodes or anxiety periods as well, which overlap a lot at that period of your PMS. Okay.
Yes.
So I think that instead of wondering whether, it's just PMS and nothing, it's about, even if it is PMS, do you feel it's overpowering you? And if your answer is yes, and you feel like you're not able to figure out how to cope with it, I would clearly advise you to go get some professional help and support for it.
Definitely, I agree with you. And I guess another factor that comes into that is, how do I tell someone this is what I'm going through? Because, hormones do play a big role in regulating sort of the way that you're feeling. And 4 days later, what I felt back then is not as heightened. It has come down. I've come to terms with it. But I'm so confused with that. How do you suggest I tell someone about it? How do you explain it? Because it also gets frustrating to explain this to someone that, hey, I was feeling this way about 3 days ago, and now I'm feeling this way about it, but I'm concerned. Explaining this to somebody itself is so confusing and to some extent also a little embarrassing, because you feel like, you can't control your emotions. You aren't, you don't have all of that in your hands at that moment. While you can't really blame it on your, like, just your hormones for that while, you do feel a little embarrassed to share this, to share that I am not able to understand what I'm supposed to do. So it's really about, the menstruator just trying to, how do you even suggest that we try to explain this to someone else?
Well, I think you find someone who you feel trustworthy and non-judgmental first, and try talking to them and seeing if it's another woman, ask her, how do you feel about it? Do you get the same feeling? And if you do, what do you do to cope? Because we can all learn from each other as to how we cope with things. And if that friend is also like, yeah, I kind of don't do that, I don't have it like that, that's also a good reference point to like, okay, seems a little bit more severe than maybe most people. And get professional help. It's very hard for me to clearly say that this is where it is at and you need to get help. But if your mood is going so high to rage or feelings of very low, feelings of self-blame, these type of feelings which are very persistent, then it's very clear that you might need extended professional support.
Certainly. Yeah, Pranayeeta, do you have anything to add about this? One second.
It's Pranayeeta, it's muted. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. Yeah, so yeah, I completely agree with doctor. I think what she said was completely right. I think it's important that we know our intensity of our pain and then seek professional help.
Completely. I agree with you. It's really just about understanding yourself, really building that. I think we spoke about finding a pattern. That really stuck out to me, because obviously there are patterns that you can notice over time, and that obviously is something that is helpful, especially when you're using a logging app or just a tiny diary to just note down what you're feeling. Sort of observing that pattern over time is also something that can help you. And that takes me to my next question, which is, pills can cure cramps, but what about the mood swings? What are some ways that a menstruator can regulate the way that they're feeling, understand the way that they're feeling? What are some, I don't know, remedies as such?
Pranita, do you want to go first? You can go and then I can go.
No, you can go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so some of the things is, one, when you know that you're going, if you've tracked it and you know you're going to go through a small dip, prepping yourself for it, doing a lot of breathing exercises helps a lot. A form, breath work, meditation really, really helps. And when you feel like overwhelmed with your emotion, like you might go through half a day and then feel like, don't know why, you're just feeling irritable, you don't feel like yourself, you feel like everything feels heightened in your emotion, just stop and do 10-15 minutes. If you're not a big meditator, just do guided meditation or breath work. It really helps stabilize your mood. So breath work, breathing in any form is really, really good. But when you mindfully do it, it really will help with your mood. The other thing is to do things that are a little bit more physical, even though you don't feel like it. Just go for a walk, do things that are comforting. It helps. Like pick up the phone and talk to a good friend. If you can manage a small walk, listen to some good music. Something that helps you to calm your mood down would be some of the strategies that you can use. And that is beside, eating good food. Even with food, if you feel like, okay, I need to eat sugar or comfort food like good pizza or something like that, remember that it's a very short-lived comfort. And that's also not very good for your whole body. You can indulge a little bit, But it doesn't mean that you need to indulge yourself all 4 days. It really doesn't. It means that, okay, you indulge yourself a little bit, but you also eat food that is also good for you, but you enjoy. The GI diet is very good at that point. So foods that are high on GI would be good for you to start eating at that point. Yeah. And create a social system, good friends, talk to them, hang out with them. That helps elevate the mood as well.
Totally. So I'm a little curious. Could you tell me a little more about the GI diet? Because I've seen it somewhere, but I don't think I know much about it. Could you tell us a little bit about the GI diet?
Right. So in short, the GI diet is basically foods that take longer for the body to break down in your system. So what happens is the longer it takes for your body to break the particular grains or millets or whatever it is, the sugar gets released slower into the system, which is good for you. Okay, and so you will notice that there would be certain foods that immediately make you feel very like, for some people eating sugar like a jalebi piece can really make them feel hyper. And for some people eating one jalebi doesn't really make too much of a difference. So that's why the diet also has to be extremely personalized to you. And GI diet is a good way for you to help because it's all food that takes longer for it to break down. So it stays in your stomach longer and you feel fuller. You don't feel like you need to eat more things.
Completely. All right, just before we jump into something, if there is any questions that our audience has, please feel free to put them in the chat box. We can also discuss them towards the end. Any questions that you have for our panelists, anything regarding the topic that we're discussing, please feel free to put it in our chat box. All right, let's move on to you, Pranayeeta. So just going around, going on the same train, what are some ways that you've tried to regulate yourself before? Wait 1 second. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, I couldn't hear your question. Can you repeat it again?
Sorry. So my question was, what were some ways that you have tried to regulate your emotions and the way you have felt?
I think the first thing that I did was to educate myself on the topic. That is the first step that anybody should take on knowing what are their mood swings, how their body works, because everybody's body is so different. So anything that I come across online would not be applied to me or would not maybe actually work for me. So to regulate my, let's say, PMS or my mood swings during my period is to know what I'm feeling. Like doctor said, that get an app, know how it works, track it down. So I think I have tried to do that. One second.
One second, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for the lag. Yeah, so I was saying that the first thing that anybody should do or could do is to regulate their mood swing is to know and educate themselves first. Educate about their body type, know how it works, and yeah, the rest of the process should be easy.
I completely agree.
Another thing that I came across recently was that ice cream has some sort of acid in it, which helps in releasing serotonin from our body, from our brain. So that's another way to help in your periods. So vouch for ice cream.
Sounds good.
I guess that's one stereotype that no matter how much media shows it, I'll be like, yep, I don't have a problem with that. You can show people with a tub of ice cream. Ice cream does make you feel better. And I'm glad there's science to back that up, really. Right. I completely agree with the both of you. There are endless ways that a menstruator can really regulate the way that they're feeling. From period apps to maintaining a small period diary for yourself, or just keeping a track of how you're feeling But making use of that, you notice a pattern and you know that you might need help, reach out without any shame. Again, there's a lot of taboos that come along with it, but it's really about understanding yourself. I think we have a couple of questions from our audience members. All right, I think there is one. Yes. Do hormonal changes at the time of menstruation have the propensity to bring out certain repressed emotions? That's a really interesting one. What do you think, doctor?
Right.
Any?
Yeah. So I think it might not be so much as repressed emotions. You're giving a channel of letting it out. A lot of things can come up. So of course, they can, but sometimes you go off on a tangent with the repressed feelings when you're on an outburst. That a lot. I mean, you don't even know whether that's really how you feel or not, but it's just shooting. So I think that we need to be careful to think that, okay, whatever I'm feeling or what I said in that anger is really how I feel about it, and I was just repressing it. I don't think it's very clear to say, yes, that is exactly what it is. And this would be a great, whoever gave the question, it's a very interesting question and a good one. But it would be a great question to kind of work through your therapist with, so that if it is, you process it. But of course, any channel that you give to let out an emotion will bring out certain feelings. Whether they're true or not, or really how you feel or not, is you need to kind of process that with your therapist.
That really does make sense. It's totally about working on it with yourself, putting yourself into it, not just ignoring it or ignoring it as just another, you know, hormonal change or just another PMS or just another mood swing. Definitely. All right, I think there's another question. Does social media project a preconceived notion of how someone should behave during their periods and what menstruation should look like? Pranina, would you like to start by answering
Yeah,
this one?
definitely. I think I would say yes, it does in certain way, but again, you have to understand that like for example, my society, in case we try to portray that this is the way how it works, this is the way how that works, we sort of generalize, right? We do not go according to what your body type is. We do not go what anybody's particular body type is. We sort of generalize that. But you need to understand people who are seeing, to understand that they should have some certain education to recognize what their body type would be in that in that generalizing process, right? So yeah, to certain point I would say they do, but again, education here and self-awareness is very important. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
I completely agree with you. I think I have, and it's not just about, let's say, talking about media as a whole. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just Indian media, talking about any other forms of media as well, Hollywood, Bollywood, whatever it may be. We do see, you know, a sense of humor added to the idea of a woman or a menstruator being irritated or
Uh-huh.
a menstruator going through something like that. There is this humor, this satire, that something that's meant to be entertaining that gets put in. While it's there for entertainment purposes, something that we should keep in mind is that that's not how it is for everyone. And
Mm-hmm.
even if it is, it's not something to disregard. It's not something to make fun of all the time. It can be really serious for a lot of people. I completely agree with you about, you know, that aspect of media and social media.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have some more. Is caffeine craving healthy during periods?
I have no clue about that. I'm so sorry.
I think caffeine, even I don't really know. Caffeine, I think it's everything in moderation. If you feel like having a cup of
Yeah.
coffee, everything in moderation, I think is totally fine.
I agree.
If
Yeah.
you allow yourself to have ice cream, why not a little bit of caffeine? I mean,
I
everything
think
in proportion.
yeah, there's also a myth with yogurt and milk, with dairy products basically, that you cannot have it. But then that's in moderation. That's yeah, exactly. So what doctor said is everything is good in moderation, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I guess people really do go off of what they read online about sugars affecting cramps or dairy affecting acne or any other PMS, any other symptom as such. And it's not that difficult to connect the dots that, hey, wait, having milk or having dairy products might flare up my acne, and acne is a very, it's a very prevalent like symptom that I do have right before my period. And honestly, again, educate yourself about these things and know your own body. That has definitely been like a highlight of our discussion here. Knowing yourself, knowing your own cycle. I think we have a question about cramps, and then we have one more question, and I think so just moving on to that question. 1 second. Is it normal to not have cramps?
I'm so sorry, but I can't see anything. Can't hear.
I think
Yeah.
it's low.
Okay, so let me read the question out. Do lifestyle choices affect menstrual cycles and amplify cramps or PMS symptoms?
Yeah, any form of sedentary lifestyle does affect cramps and PMS.
Definitely.
All right, I'm so sorry about that. I think I got cut off. Can you hear me now? Okay, I'm so sorry about that again. So yeah, I think we discussed do lifestyle choices. Yes. And then we have another questions. Are there any long-term negative impacts of taking painkillers to reduce cramps?
To my Go ahead, doctor. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
To my research, I haven't come across any long-term effects so far. Like I said that in the previous question, that it's okay to take up to 5 mental spash. To my research, to my doctor, what I have come across. So yeah, no negative effects so far for me. But again,
and I just wanted to say,
go ahead.
No, please.
Yeah, like doctor had said that it's really recommended if you go to your own doctor and own gynec and consult, because again, everybody's body does not work the same. So
that's exactly what I wanted to say, that it's hard to answer that with a one blanket statement. It would be good for you to advise your doctor on that. Okay, I think Mahek is stuck.
I think just sort of adding on to that question, something. Yeah.
I think Mahek, keep your camera off for some time and then you can continue.
Yeah. Are you able to hear me? I don't know why I have really terrible internet issues suddenly. So I guess just another question adding on to that was, I've always been worried about getting too used to pain meds, because I'm not gonna lie, I do feel like I need to take one at least on day one in the entire month. And the way I've tried to justify it for myself is I'm only taking one pain med every month, just one. And I've really tried to justify it by saying that. But I guess a fear that a lot of people have, and I have discussed this with my friends who menstruate, is they feel that they might get used to taking these meds, or a lot of, even mothers and sisters and grandmothers recommend that don't take meds because it's not good for you. And in some ways that is also something that we need to spread awareness about, that it's not like it's wrong to take these medications. It's okay, but again, like everything, there is a limit, and there is a limit for your own. All right. Do we have any other questions from our audience members? Interesting ones. Thank you, all of you who've asked questions. Our panelists.
So looks like there isn't any more questions. Do the panelists have any last words that they want to say before we conclude?
Yeah, I would like to add from the whole discussion, I would just want to say that everybody that is listening to me right now, like Mahek said, the highlight of our whole discussion was to know our own body type. Uh, it's important that we know our own body type. It's important that even though we are in an urbanic area and we know the basic things, it's important that in if we are privileged, it's important that we educate ourselves as much as possible about menstruation, and yeah, help ourselves, help everybody that is there in our house, and yeah, pretty much that's it.
Yeah, and I think just adding to what Praneeta. Sorry, it's with a double E, so I'm like, do I pronounce it with, but Praneeta. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a pleasure meeting you, Praneeta, here, and just hearing all the work you do as well. I think it really helps advocate things that are very important for women to hear. And just adding to what you're saying, menstrual cycles are a part of women's lives, and the more you figure out how to make it work for you, the more it actually is you start to kind of understand how in sync it is with a lot of your own health and your mental health, where they both kind of go hand in hand with it. So I think it's a period you use it to try and be more aware of yourself. That would only bring to personal growth. So there's always a plus point to awareness and taking responsibility for ourselves.
Definitely. I completely agree with the both of you. The session was quite enriching. Really important points came up about taking care of yourself, your own, mental well-being, physical well-being while you are on your period. Definitely the highlights of this discussion, I would say. Thank you so much, panelists, for being here with us today. We're really, really grateful to you. I personally have really enjoyed meeting the both of you today. A big thank you to all of our audience for being here for the session. We really enjoyed discussing many of these questions with you. Thank you once again, panelists.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Just a small reminder, we would be all right, thank you. Thank you. Just do be in touch with Bindu's social media and a day after the panels for announcing the giveaway. So we'll be in touch with you. Thank you once again, panelists and audience members. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you, Mahek.
Thank you, Siddharth.
Bye, everyone.